And welcome inside the Backstage Pass. We are back, and in full disclosure here, I guess you could say, we actually survived the flight, CMA Fest 2024. What a blast it was, and thanks to all of our sponsors out there for making it happen. We'll talk more about those guys throughout the broadcast. Of course, KKTC, True Country 99.9, and our friends out there at hightidecountry.net carrying the show. We appreciate what they do out there. And some people called me crazy this week. They're like, you're actually doing a show. You unpacked all your equipment to come home. And I said, yes, I had to unpack all my equipment for this exception. Her new album came out last week, Knocking Around, the Lost Album. The great Sylvia joins us here on the Backstage Pass. Sylvia, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you? I
It's
know
good.
you're worn out. You're worn out, but you're good, right?
Just a little bit, right? Katie and I had all the CMA Fest interviews inside the Music City Center. And, it was about 85 interviews in a matter of 4 days.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So
I'm impressed that you showed up for this interview today. Thank you.
Wouldn't miss it. I wouldn't miss it, no doubt. But yeah, and I remember let's start right there because we got to go backstage at the Opry on Sunday and do that event, which was fantastic. At Sunday Morning Country, which is the 42nd annual event. Great time, and just got to see John Barry take the stage, sing "How Great Thou Art," and just it was amazing to put the word out and the positivity for the good Lord and worship Him on a Sunday with all that great gospel music. Talk about, but just remembering when you first started, it was called Fanfare for a reason, and some people still call it that too. But you've got some very, very vivid memories from Fanfare CMA Fest, right?
Oh, in fact, the very first Fanfare that I went to, I had just signed or was about to sign actually with RCA. It was that summer right before, it was in 1979. And no one knew me from Adam. I was just, but RCA said, come be at the booth, be at the RCA booth and hang out. And I was just enthralled with the masses of people that were there and how, they were so into the music. I mean, really into the music and into the artists. And I totally got why they called it Fanfare, because it really, the focus was on the fans. I loved, because that was, the fans are the driving force of why country music is successful. So I've heard rumors that they're starting to call certain aspects of it, at least, Fanfare again. And I think that is a beautiful idea. I'm glad they're doing that. But
when you look at,
as far as memories, I had a booth every year. Fans would come from all over the country and stand in long lines. And at that time, it was at the fairgrounds here in Nashville. And that building was not air conditioned, if you can imagine. Because usually the Fanfare week, it was like the hottest week we'd had, so far. And it was, so we were all, everybody waving fans and stuff, but we were all so into it. It was like, it was just part of the way it happened, and we all were there together and taking pictures and signing autographs and just loving on the fans and the fans loving on us, and that just felt beautiful. I just loved Fanfare.
Yeah, I read something where they said, Sylvia, they had over 90,000 like per day. That's not even including what Nissan was too. You might as well just round it off and probably say right around 100, because I was predicting it was going to bring about 100 every day. But like from the flight over, amazing. All countries just coming to support all the emerging artists, all the artists that have, made their way in music and have paid their dues, and people like Lainey Wilson. I remember the first day we actually got there. I'll tell you a funny story. I'll talk more about this on the radio station tomorrow. But we got there, Caden and I, and we got directed to the second floor up the escalators. And as we walked in, you kind of feel like you're like, look, this brand has arrived now. This is like the Super Bowl of country music. It's pretty amazing. And they sent us to the wrong place. And so we had to actually go back around the actual exhibit hall, walked out the door, and almost got ran over by the fans because they were there to see Dolly do her thing and like a Q&A. And so we got the side door, and we said, where's the media room? And they went all the way around and showed us the actual media room over there. But that's the fun, that's the stories from a CMA Fest. But giving back to fans, I mean, building on that too, like you said, you had those great memories, but it's amazing that these fans come spend their hard-earned money and really buy tickets to an attraction like the biggest week in Nashville. I call it the Super Bowl of country music.
Yeah, that's a good term for it. I think country music is unique in that the artists and the fans have this special connection that I don't think in any other genre of music you can really have that kind of connection. Because, back in the 80s when I was touring all the time, doing 250 shows plus a year, I always signed autographs after the show, which was just my
Hmm.
opportunity to meet with the people that were supporting my music and take pictures. And it was this very personal connection that I got to have with the fans. And today, with the release of Knocking Around and
Hmm.
the release finally of all of my records, that all my albums that I did for RCA are now up online where people can listen to them now. So I think
Hmm.
sometimes people would think, "Oh, she was a one-hit wonder," because the only album that was up for people to stream was the Just Sylvia album that had nobody on it. So I think what has come to bear and what I've experienced over the last 5, 6 weeks as each album has been released is that the fans, uh, we have personal relationships. I mean, I
Hmm.
saw them at some fair in their local community. I signed autographs after the show. I all these beautiful stories people have been sharing with me has just bowled me over. And I think, if this album, if Knocking Around and all this had happened years ago, 38
Hmm.
years ago was when Knocking Around would have come out, then I wouldn't have I wouldn't have this rapport with the fans because now there's social media. There wasn't social media back then. So
Hmm.
I'm just feeling like there's a perfection in all of this. And the fans are the foundation for why we're able to keep doing what we do. And so
Yeah,
I'm
no
so glad.
doubt.
I'm so,
It's
so happy things are happening like they are.
I love it too. And that's the best part is I got to talk to a bunch of them out there wearing their favorite musician
Mhm.
and artist t-shirts. And I mean, just we looked at every morning we got there early and it was just look outside and you see the lines. And for just $10, you can go in there and experience everything. I tell people if you're a true country music fan, that is the place to
Yeah.
be, no doubt too. I know we talked about this last time when we had the audio side of it going on, but we've since upgraded to all the great video stuff now. But y'all had a special tune that you mentioned back in the day, and that's not something to take for granted when it comes to that timeless classic and Nobody too. Back in 1982, you mentioned RCA. I
Mhm.
still love the song. I'm sure you get people to like play that at your shows. Have fun with that. Let's do that. When you
Mhm.
think back and you start saying to yourself, what is that, 30 plus years now or so, or give or take, whatever it is, 40 years. Looking back, it's like, well, who's counting? Who's counting, right? Did you kind of feel like we had something special here that was going to really kind of sculpture itself, mold itself into something to be one of the greatest country songs of all time?
Well, I mean, we didn't know that would happen, but I tell you that the evening when I recorded Nobody, it was the last song on the last session for the whole album. We'd already
Hmm.
recorded several sessions. We thought, let's do one more session, record a few more songs than we really need, and then pick the best from that. And Nobody was the last song on that last session. And I
Wow.
think we did 3 takes, and I think we ended up taking the first or second take that we
Hmm.
did. And the vocal that you hear on the record is what I did in the studio right as the tracks were going down, and then the Cherry Sisters came in later and did their background vocals on it, which just sealed its fate. I mean, it was, but that night in the studio, it felt magical. It felt different than any other time I'd recorded a song. We knew it was special, but of course, we had no idea it would do what it has done and what it continues to do. It
Hmm.
still gets airplay. People still tell me they listen to it, they love it, and I'm just so grateful to have had that experience.
No doubt too. Caden, do you have a question? I'll take a time out here a little bit for the sponsors, but what you got?
Yeah, Sylvia, I hope you're doing well. I don't know if you remember me, but we spoke like 2 years
Yeah.
ago, I
Oh, I
believe.
do remember you. Yes.
She knows. She knows.
And I believe at the time we talked a lot about a different album that you were promoting.
Hmm. Probably talking
So,
about Nature Child.
Yes.
yes, that's what it was. I remember it
Yes.
had something to do with children. So,
Mhm.
that's what it was. That's right. I couldn't
Yeah.
remember what the album was called, but
Mhm.
thanks for to Brandon for having me on, and I'm super excited for his collaboration. Sylvia, if you had the opportunity to work with any artist that you've never worked with before, who would you choose and why?
Wow. That's a big question. I I don't know. I think maybe Reba. I've known Reba for a long time. I've never done anything with her. Uh, she's always, anytime I've run into her over the years, she's always so super friendly, and we both go way back. When I moved to Nashville, she already had a deal on Mercury, and I don't think a lot happened at that point in her time. It happened. She really took off a little bit later than that, but I've been watching her career forever, and I just love her. I think she's just a really genuine person, and I think it's really cool when two female artists get together and do something like that.
Yeah.
I think that could be really cool. But she's in a whole different orbit than I am. So I mean, I'm not. I'm just thinking about, oh, what if, But I know that's not going to happen. But I just think she's just fabulous.
She's one of the all-time greats, no doubt, too. I want to come back after break and talk a little bit about, of course, the new one. We'll get into it, too, as well, which is out there across all the DSPs, those digital streaming platforms, too, as well, which is Sylvia's new record, Knocking Around, the Lost album, too. And, of course, we'll have some questions from the album, Nature Child. We'll take a quick time out, pay a tribute to those sponsors that made CMA Fest 2024 possible. We're already looking for next year, June 5th to 8th, CMA Fest 2025. Can you believe they've announced the dates? Yeah. Tickets go on sale June 25th at CMAFest.com. We don't play around here. We're coming up here with Sylvia, HighTideCountry.net, and our friends at KKTC, True Country 99.9. Stay tuned.
The Caden Gordon Show, today's best country mix, is a 2-hour show playing independent and mainstream country music you know and love. Be sure to check it out at thecadengordonshow.com for more information on the show.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And back here with Sylvia on the Backstage Pass. Of course, the big news coming up here over the next few weeks. So stay tuned to the show right here, the Backstage Pass, the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And, of course, out there, KKTC, True Country 99.9. We've got the call tomorrow morning with Shelly. We're actually going to play one of Sylvia's new songs tomorrow morning on KKTC 99.9 New Mexico and Colorado. How about that? So I just can make
Hey, now, I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I like that, which is good because we have our own freedom to do it. So we're going to do it tomorrow morning. And, of course, our friends at HighTideCountry.net. Nature Child. I was going to ask you about this one, too. You mentioned that. I loved Avalon and the whole arrangement with this. I thought it was a beautiful song to set the tone for the rest of that record. 12 great songs. Tell us all about that one.
Well, it's an interesting tie-in, actually, to what's happening right now with my old records being released really online for the first time. When I got off of the road at the end of 1987, my deal with RCA ended. And I had known for some time that I wanted to turn my attention to writing music. And one of the things that was so beautiful during those years of touring, and was really a surprise that it happened, especially since Nobody, which was out in 1982, children came to the shows in droves. I mean, they drug their parents to the shows. It was just incredible. And it was really surprising to see. There'd be kids 10 deep sometimes at the front of the stage that had little, they were dancing to the music and knew all the words. And I have to say, I was just bowled over by that. And, but there were times I thought, boy, this is an adult themed song about somebody possibly cheating on someone. And I thought, I really would love to have music that I could really sing to these kids, say something to them that really, that I would want to say to them, and so that was the spark that really led me. The first thing that I did after I got off the road from full-time touring, I was still doing shows, but I wasn't touring with a band in a bus at that point. Starting in 1988, I started writing music with Verlin Thompson. Verlin and I, and on the Knockin' Around album, Verlin wrote Makes You Want to Slow Down and Come to Me. There's 2 songs on the Knockin' Around album that Verlin and I collaborated on. And then I went to Verlin and I said, I want to write some music that I would want to sing to these kids. And so we began writing, and this was in the late 80s. we wrote 6 songs that ended up being on this Nature Child album. And I assumed that I would, finish this album, finish writing it, and put it right out, But that's not what happened. It didn't come out till 2022. So, and in the process of doing that, I had, John Mock, my co-producer, my good friend and collaborator. He also is a composer, writes music. And so we finished out the record, and there's 12 songs, and it's finally out. But it really is connected to that time when I was touring. And was so inspired by these young people. And there are all these people now that I'm talking to, these youngsters. Some of them say, I was 8 years old and I met you at the fair. And so this album is really the culmination and the inspiration that came from those years of touring in the 80s. So I hope people will be interested. You can listen to this album anywhere you get your music online. You can actually order CDs from Amazon, actually. You can have a hard CD of it. But that's the story about in a nutshell. And I'm glad you like Avalon. That's like a good song to begin the album with.
Yeah, beautiful song, no doubt too. And I tying this in too because you were one of those power ladies. I say the anthem of country music with Nobody and Drifter and these big songs back in the 80s too. But I want to cross the grounds now because I saw a lot of talent there at the Fanfare CMA Fest 2024. But man, these ladies, Sylvia, now they're kicking some tail right now. I want to say the other word, but we can't because it just goes to radio. But they are, Lainey Wilson, my goodness, and Megan Maroney headlining stages. Give me your thoughts on, I guess, what it was back in the era when you came up and you saw those powerhouse females, Reba, Faith Hill, and Martina McBride, and like you said, the Cherry Sisters and the Forrester Sisters. The names go on and on back then. And then you look at now, these ladies are getting finally, I think they're calling, right?
They are. I was just in a conversation with a good friend just earlier this afternoon about in the 80s how few women that there were in powerful positions in the music industry, and that there was a mindset among record label people. I even had a top executive at a record label tell me that women are going to be show openers. They don't put the butts in the seats. It's a quote. Women don't put butts in the seats. I think they're eating their words now. And I'm so thrilled to see women out there making hit music and being out there and really being dynamic on stage, and they're not opening for anybody, so in a lot of cases, men are opening for them. And and I love male artists, don't get me wrong, they're great, but there needs to be a balancing. I remember right before I signed with RCA, looking at the Billboard country charts one week, and of the top 100 singles, there were 2 women. Wow. Out of 100 on the chart.
What a stat.
So we've come a long way, and we've got a long way to go. But we just need more balance. We need to hear from women and men. And women sometimes have a little different perspective than men do, and that's a beautiful thing. It's like, let's bring all of our thoughts and observations and perceptions into the music and present it out there. And I'm thrilled to see women being more successful. And it's not easy. It's not easy because there was a big mindset to overcome within the industry to get where a lot of these women are today.
Go ahead, Caden.
What was that?
I said, I thought you had a question. I thought your mouth kind of moved. I was like, he probably has a question right now.
Okay. Yeah, well, I definitely do. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yeah.
You're good.
Sylvia, with your incredible career, where do you see it in the next 5 years? Where do you want to be?
Well, I pretty much want to be where I am. I want people to hear this music that really has been held back. This is music that was actually successful in the 1980s, that has not been available for people to hear. And if they wanted to hear it, they had to go to find my old albums in an antique store somewhere, or an old record shop or something like that. For people, I'm so excited that people can actually hear my Snapshot album, my Surprise album, my One Step Closer album, my Knocking Around album. And that Knocking Around, that was even a bigger surprise because I didn't even know it was a possibility that record could be released for the first time. And I really want to thank Sony music, entertainment. They asked me, "What do you want to do with this Knocking Around album?" And I hadn't even thought about it because they had never released it. RCA had never released it, and so that they said, "Yeah, let's put it out." I said, yes, I want to put it out," and they said, "Okay, we will." So I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just these last few weeks have been. I can't even explain it. So to go back to your question, what I want to be doing in 5 years, I hope to still be singing on some level, maybe still recording at some level. But at this time of my life, my focus right now is on my life and career coaching. I have been a life and career coach for 24 years. And I love this work of being in deep conversations with people who are moving through some kind of change in their lives and want some support as they do that. And so that right there is so fulfilling for me right now. I love this work, and I hope to grow my coaching work more and more over the coming years. And, maybe sing here and there and put out a record here and there. Who knows? I don't know I really don't know what the future holds, but I'm open. I
want to ask you a question kind of outside the box, and maybe you can shed some light on this. Maybe it may take some thought for others, but I got asked this when I was in Nashville. This was like above my pay grade, so I could not even begin to even answer this type of question. But you've been on the record label, RCA. Of course, I know a lot's changed in those years since you had the record deal, but it was like we saw so many emerging artists in that town. It is crazy how rich and pure the town is full of songwriters and newer artists coming up, male and female today. What do you think, even today, even back then, or how has it changed when a record label makes an offer to an artist to sign them? What do you think that record label is mostly looking for? And maybe it started out as something when you first started your career. Maybe it's something different now. It kind of shed some light on that because I couldn't answer that for some various artists, like when I was in Nashville in town. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Well, my perception is that it's just become more highly commercialized. It's much less about, you've seen those bumper stickers. It's all about the song, or it starts with the song. I think that has shifted. I think it starts with a young artist who has a certain look that can be marketed and in a certain way. And I understand a lot of the deals that these young artists sign are what they call 360 deals, which is very different than what I had. I mean, I think an artist today, most of them, I'm not sure about all of them, but a lot of them, the young ones, they're signing contracts where they're giving a piece of their merchandise sales. They're giving a piece of their concert ticket sales to the record label. And so, it's just very, very structured very differently. And I understand that the record labels, they used to make their money selling LPs and CDs, and they still sell some, but a vast majority of music today is streamed. People mainly stream. So it's almost like record labels lost their ability. They had a physical product they were selling, and that is kind of largely, unless you're Taylor Swift or you're somebody very huge, you're not selling that much physical product. So they've had to find other ways to make money. And that makes, they're corporations. They have their businesses. They have to figure this out. So they've had to restructure things very differently. And from an artist's perspective, it's pretty tough to make it, because I remember when I didn't have that kind of deal. I was not giving a portion of my my merchandise sales or my concert tickets to the label. It was still very hard to make it. You got to pay a band, you got a bus. My bus got 4 miles to the gallon. and I look at the gasoline prices today and I think, how does anybody do it? I mean, you've got insurance and you've got, there's so much overhead. So, there's this big disparity between artists that are like independent artists and people way at the top. Those people in the middle, those artists in the middle, I'm sure it's a big challenge to make it work financially.
No doubt, too. And it's scrapping away. Yeah. No, it was good answer. It's what I wanted to. Again, you shed some light on it, really, no doubt about it, too. We'll take a time out. I'm going to come back and dive into a couple songs from the album Knocking Around, too, as well, which is out across all the platforms came out last week. I got to listen to the whole thing as we came back on the flight from CMA Fest this past Tuesday. Beautiful records, some great songs. You mentioned this music to get out to your fans has been years in the making. Can't Turn My Heart Away, Blame It on Love, and of course Never My Love, which led off the record there from Knocking Around the Lost Album. I love that title because it's great music to get into everybody's hands out there too. You can stream it across all the DSPs, digital streaming platforms, and a whole lot more. We'll talk more about that. Quick timeout for our sponsors here. The Backstage Pass continues, hightidecountry.net, and our friends, KKTC, True Country, 99.9. Stay tuned.
The Kate Gordon Show is a 2-hour show playing the best in country music. So check it out at thekatengordonshow.com. Again, that is thekatengordonshow.com.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And back here on the show, if you missed any of that coverage, CMA Fest 2024, well, check out two places. One, the guy's on the screen there. He was with me, the KadenGordonShow.com. Today's Best Country Mix. He did probably 75, 80 interviews, and yours truly here. 85 of those out there, too. YouTube channel, and, of course, everywhere out there you stream. Video and audio, too. KKTC, True Country, 99.9, and, of course, hightidecountry.net. Running them all this week, too. So if you missed some, go back and check it out across all the social media out there, too. Back here with the great Sylvia here on the Backstage Pass. Knocking Around. I'll tell you what, the Lost album too, which is beautiful out there. Let's begin it with Never My Love, because I thought I'm always about songs setting tone for the record. And this really beautifully done. Well done.
Thank you.
Love it too. Go through the arrangement of just the writing. And I mean, you've worked with some of the best writers in the industry, but what a way to begin it with that particular song and then get into Blame It on Love. I call it the Love and Love connection. Never My Love. Blame It on Love. And then Can't Turn My Heart Away.
Yeah. Well, Never My Love was a huge hit, I think, in the 60s or 70s. It was the Adrisi brothers wrote it, and I'm blanking right now on who had it out. Maybe the association or one group. A big group had it. It was a big hit. And I know a lot of people have recorded the song. But the day that we recorded it, Shane Keister is this incredible keyboardist, musician here in Nashville, who played on lots of records. He's played on lots of hit records, the Amy Grant hits, that's what comes to mind right now. A fabulous musician. He had this gadget connected to his keyboard, some kind of synclavier or something like that he could sample my voice. And we sampled my voice into the keyboard. And in this song, one of the things that makes it such a unique sounding recording is that my voice is meshed in with the keyboard in some instances, like in the background oohs and ahs and different places it's used, and it just gives this beautiful eerie quality, that eerie in the best sense of the word. It just kind of lifts you up, and so it's a familiar song, but it's such a different production than you probably ever heard of it. So lots of the fans have just been really excited about that particular song on the album. And so I'm glad you're going to play it.
Oh, I'm going to play something. One of those three tomorrow. And we'll probably do it, like I said, a double shot in the morning there with Shelly in the morning via the LMNOC streaming app. And of course out there, 99.9 if you're in your car in Taos, New Mexico, and up into Colorado, KKTC, our affiliate syndicated station out there too. All right, I'm gonna have a little fun with you because, hey, we got back and had some fun. I got taken to all different places. Like I said, we did everything there we could imagine, from concerts to Nissan to everything. I did not get my Prince's hot chicken, Sylvia. I was a little bit perturbed by that, but I have had Hattie B's before. One, are you a hot chicken fan? And I guess with that too, if you're not, where are some of your favorite restaurants to eat at in town?
Well, I have been a vegetarian for, I guess, technically I'm a pescatarian. I occasionally eat salmon or tuna, but I have been a vegetarian for over 30 years. So I I'm not into the hot chicken. And I tell you, as you get older in life, hot foods are just sometimes just don't agree with you. And I love Mexican food. There's a restaurant here in Nashville called El Palenque that is my favorite. That and the Green Hills Grill, which is not Mexican, but they have a wide variety of offerings. But the Green Hills Grill and El Palenque are my two favorites.
I like that too. Caden, next year we got to put that on the list. CRS
Oh,
and CMA Fest.
You won't be disappointed. You won't.
Actually, I'm going back in October for the we're up for a Josie Music Award, so I got to go back and do that at the Opry. So I may have to try just to, let you know, remind me the names, and you're like, go here, Brandon, go here and do that one too. So,
okay.
I mentioned Game of Thrones. I mentioned little House of Dragon, which comes out this weekend too for Father's Day, and happy early Father's Day to all the dads out there too, because we won't talk again until next week on Tuesday. You never know. We might pop in with a show Monday. Who knows? As far as shows you're binge watching, what do you like to get into? If it's television or a series or maybe audiobooks, what do you like?
You'll laugh, but I love to watch Bones.
Okay.
These are old shows.
They're good shows.
I love Frasier. Oh my gosh, he's funny. That whole show, that ensemble of characters. So I don't watch a lot of television, which I'm sure people are going to go, what? But I don't. I go, occasionally I'll get into a series like Game of Thrones or something like that, which I did years ago. But, I like PBS. Getting old, but I love it. I mean, PBS got the best. I love the Roots show where you go back into your ancestry. They bring on celebrities and they look up their family history and find out all kinds of interesting stuff. Those are the kind of shows I like,
I like that too.
Yeah,
we got a couple more. Caden, you got one final one? Because she knows we sit here and talk all day long, but you know what? Hey, we got the time for radio too. We got to condense it down too, which is good. But hey, you got one final one for Sylvia?
I think this is one that you might have forgotten, but Sylvia, if people want to learn more about you, where can they find you if they don't know much about you on socials?
Oh, that's great. I'm on Facebook. And under just Sylvia, I think it's under Sylvia Kirby Country Singer or something like that. But if you just Sylvia, I have a band page, and then I have Sylvia Kirby, which is another Kirby, which is my last name. They can find me there. They can find me on Instagram. Just search for me there under the band thing. But if you want to really listen to the music, that you can listen to clips of all the Red Pony Records. Red Pony Records is my record label, and if you want to listen to what I've been doing, like I actually did this album called Second Bloom. I put that out in 2018. I put out an album called It's All in the Family, and I put that out in 2016. I've got this album, which is a Christmas album, A Cradle in Bethlehem.
That's a beautiful record. I just had to say that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And then this is Where in the World, a very acoustic album that I put out in 2002. And I've continued to record since those days. So go on sylviamusic.com. It's pretty easy. Sylviamusic.com. You can hear all this music. You can click a button and you can order a CD. I've got a store on my site. You can get, like T-shirts and mugs and totes and stuff like that. So it represents the newer music that I've done. But I hope people will go also online and listen to these albums that have been released finally from the archives, where you can hear really my full career spectrum during the 80s, and so I hope you'll do that, because I think you'll enjoy it. It's been fun for me because a lot of this music I had not heard for a long time myself.
Got one final one for you, and I'm gonna be listening to a lot of this music even into tonight, the rest of the week, and next week too. I'm glad this music is out across the DSPs to listen to it. When you get a sweet tooth, if there's ever occasion, you mentioned pescatarian and stuff like that, but I try to watch what I eat, but it doesn't work out the way all the time too. But dessert, sweet tooth, cookie, ice cream. What's your sweet tooth? Maybe some sweet bread. What do you get into?
I love strawberry shortcake.
Ooh. Time to eat some.
Yeah, it's been kind of popular in some of the local restaurants too. It's hard to pass it up. I love strawberries. I love shortcake, and I love cake.
Cake in general.
Yeah, you know,
Let's-
and
let's have a-
chocolate. I love chocolate. What woman doesn't love chocolate? Very few of us.
Well, I tell you what, it's getting close. She's right. Dinner time. It's time to get some strawberry shortcake, some chocolate, and some good things to mix with this great album too. And you can actually listen to it. I've got one of the old vinyls that she put out back. My grandma got me in the '80s. That tells you how much I've been listening to the best of the best out there too. Knocking around the Lost album across all the digital streaming platforms. Hey, you're always a great friend to Caden and I, the shows and everything out there. Looking forward to talking about this further down the road. Glad everybody can hear the music finally. You're such a class act. We appreciate your time and definitely come back anytime here on the show. We love you, no doubt.
Well, thank you. And thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. You guys are great. Thank you so much.
You
Now
got
go
it.
get
Sylvia
some
out there.
rest.
Yeah,
I
we
need to go
got,
get
we
some
got to
after
do
all
that.
the activity.
It was a lot. CMA Fest 2024 stories to tell, and we're going to tell some in the morning with Shelly at 8:30. It's 8:30 Central, 7:30 Mountain Time. We'll be playing one of Sylvia's new songs on KKTC True Country 99.9 and via the LMNOC streaming app. Just in your app store, log that in there too, and you can catch us there along with all the other great artists that we play on KKTC. Of course, hightidecountry.net, and thanks to all the sponsors out there for making the show possible. We're back next week. Scotty Hastings from Black River Entertainment will join us on Tuesday of next week. We might pop in Monday, but like Sylvia said, I've got to get some rest. Caden and I do to be able to keep it going coming up next week too as well. We'll see you guys on the show coming up next week on Tuesday. Scotty Hastings joins us. And again, tickets go on sale June 25th for CMA Fest 2025 at CMAfest.com. Give her a listen out there on the Knocking Around record and get some merchandise at SylviaMusic.com too as well. We'll see you soon. God bless.